Hey there, it's Brittany, and I am back with the unboxing of the October Curated bead box. This box is, I believe, $20 plus shipping. Or no, I believe this box is $20 with shipping. There is a list of ingredients in the box on the front, and then they also send a finding starter kit, which includes the items on the screen. So let's take a look. If you're interested in subscribing, I have a coupon code in my description box below. It's TURQST35, and you can save 35% off your first box. All right, so I think the first one is this 12mm khaki red swirl marble glass style bead 6-inch string. These are interesting. It's funny, I had another bead that but from them that kind of gave me the same ideas, but it kind of reminds me of like zombies. I don't know, like these are the colors when I'm thinking zombies. So that would be, or witches, like this would be good for Halloween, but it can also be pretty earthy, I guess. Like mossy. I actually really like these. 10mm apple green gold drizzled glass bead, a 6-inch string. So there's some gold and green and yellow on there. 10mm light copper drizzled glass bead 6-inch string. Oh no, I have these. I don't know if I've gotten in a box or from dollarbead.com, which is the sister site to Curated bead box. But I know I have these and I've used them in a lot of things. These actually look really good with Jesse James beads. 8mm deep aqua semi-matte glass bead 10-inch string. These are really neat. I love matte glass. These are really nice. At least I really like that color. Nice teal. 8mm yellow gray duo style glass bead 10.5-inch string. These are an interesting color combo too. I like these. They look very, they're made to look more like gemstones, but they're glass and they have a little bit of crackle going on inside. I like those a lot. 6mm apple light copper drizzled glass bead. That's a color combo I don't have, but it actually screams autumn with like green apples and copper. I like that. 4mm mink glass pearl bead 16-inch string, just your standard 4mm pearl in a mauve tan. It's a good color for that, mink. 4mm dark brown glass crackle bead 16-inch string. I feel like we've gotten this color and recently, but I can't remember which box it was in. But these are good spacer beads. 10mm green aventurine gemstone bead 7 to 8-inch string. I have never seen green aventurine this bright before, or like this deeply saturated, so I don't know if this is like a dyed gemstone. It's a fun color, but I wouldn't automatically assume that it was aventurine looking at it. Usually that's a little bit of a paler, not paler green, but just lighter than this. 6mm green aventurine gemstone bead 7 to 8-inch string, and aventurine actually is a little bit closer to this, but again a little bit dark. So this might be aventurine, but it's not typically this light. 6mm tiger eye gemstone bead 7 to 8-inch string. That's interesting. I'm surprised that these are in here. I don't know that I've seen a whole strand of tiger eye before in a Curated bead box. That's kind of cool. This one's interesting with that stripe through the middle. 6mm dark yellow swirl marble glass style bead. I missed this one earlier. I thought when I was looking at the list, these two were similar, so I thought this one I had already looked at, but they're very similar, although this one is opaque and this one's translucent. Very cool. Leaf patina metal pendant, 2 different pendants. So we've got this one, which is gorgeous. I don't even have to patina it this month. That's really pretty. And then we have a ginkgo. Which I really love. I don't know that I have this. This is so cute. I almost see like a lariat or something. maybe, I think we'll maybe do a lariat, a fall lariat. Who knows? Who knows? It's interesting that the loop is on the front. I would consider that the front of the leaf just because of how the back it looks, but I guess either side could be the front or back. I just think that it's weird that the loop is on the detailed side. I love both of those. Those are my favorite things in this box. And then we have some 20 by 14 millimeter oval bronze metal bead frames, 8 of them. These are so cool. I think I have these in silver. I don't know if I have them in this color, but they look great. And these will fit even these 12 millimeter. Were these 10? Yeah, these were. These were the 12 millimeter beads. I think those will even fit in there if you push them. Oh, maybe. Yeah, they'll fit in there. That's pretty cool. Yay, I'm actually really excited to work with this box. I have no idea what I'm going to do. A lariat maybe, but maybe not. So I'm going to take some time to review everything. Oh, and we had gold findings this month. So the gold finding kit. All right, so I'm going to look through everything and I'll come back with a tutorial. Okay, so I have decided to make a lariat, and I'm going to use this 1 millimeter leather that I got from Bracelet.Street, USA. The ends of the lariat are going to be these 2 pendants that we got in the box. I decided to use a ton of the beads in this box. So this is going to be like a stash buster necklace. So let's say you have a bunch of beads that you really like together. You have no idea how to use all of them up. I'm going to show you with this necklace. So these are the strands I decided to use. We're also going to do some other stuff after the necklace. And I'll use a couple of these bead frames as well. I grabbed some metal beads from my stash, and I had some pretty cute coordinating leaves that I thought worked, and I did decide not to patina them because I wanted the pendants to stand out versus the rest of the beads on the necklace. All right, we're gonna get started. I need 3 strands of the leather for this necklace, and I decided to make each strand 54 inches. That was based on measuring it on my body, and I really wish I would have added another 6 or so inches, just because it ended up being a little short, but 54 inches times 3 is a lot of leather. Thankfully I had 10 yards of this. So first I'm gonna knot I guess this is a maple leaf, onto the 3 strands of leather. So at first I wasn't sure kind of what knot I wanted to do. I wanted to do a barrel knot, but we all know that's not my favorite knot. I tend to do those only when I have to. And here you'll see me struggling a little bit, but I get through it. I think I cut out the part where I tried to make a different type of knot and it just looked terrible. Or maybe it's coming up with the other leaf. I don't remember. By the way, if you haven't noticed yet, I'm doing a voiceover this time because I thought it would be faster, but that remains to be seen. So I'm doing a barrel knot. You want to get a barrel knot bead or a straw or a pen or something that's hollow that you can wrap your leather around. And I wrapped it around a couple times and then brought the leather pieces back to the front of the bead. And I am going to stick that through the bead I found. This is just a noodle bead. A really good tutorial for barrel knots is Kelly's Bead Boutique. I can do them, I don't like them. So this one's not going to be your traditional barrel knot because I'm doing 3 pieces. So it's not going to look exactly like a barrel knot, but I did finagle it to make it look a little bit better here. And just take your time. If you're getting frustrated and it's not turning out the way you want, take a break, walk away, work on a different project. Give yourself time. That's what I ended up doing here. As you can see, I'm kind of moving the pieces to get the look I want. So my knot's complete, and then I opened up a bunch of the strands, well actually all the strands, thinking I might want to put some beads on those leftover strands hanging off of the leaf. However, it didn't look the way I wanted it to, so I kind of tabled that, thinking I'd come back to it. The leather didn't really want to move through this leaf very well, so I angle cut it, and then this is when I decided I didn't really want it to be hanging next to the other leaf. Here I just started piling on beads to each side of the necklace. So I really was going in a random design. I didn't care if two brown beads were next to each other. I didn't care if two of the same beads were next to each other. I just wanted to get a lot of beads on the leather. Some of these tiger eye beads, the holes were too small, so you'll see me put some beads down here and there. And one of these strands of leather had a little bit of a bulge, so I had to kind of work the beads over that. But for the most part, most of these beads had at least a 1mm hole, so this project was pretty easy once it got going. For this first strand, I put quite a few beads on. Typically when I knot between sections, I don't put this many beads on, but I really liked how heavy it made the end of the necklace. If you don't make the ends of a lariat necklace heavy enough, sometimes it'll slip around or not lay the correct way, so I really wanted to go with several beads. Here I'm grabbing the bead frame, and it took some trial and error. I wanted more than one bead to be in the middle, but the bead frame had other ideas. Not quite. Didn't quite make it. But the good thing is I actually really liked how this turned out with the 14mm bead. Those were my favorite beads in the box, and it really helped give me an idea for the bracelet coming up later in the video. Okay, we have all 3 strands. And I'm just going to do an easy overhand knot to secure those beads in place. I love the look of all these beads. And it doesn't have to be a lariat if you want to do something like this. String 3 pieces together like I've done here. Tie your knot. And then make it into a regular necklace. Make that your pendant. Maybe hang this from a donut or something. That would be really fun. Make sure you don't get your tools caught up in your leather though. Just going to walk that knot down to the beads and tighten it. And I think I make sure I tighten all 3 pieces. But I love how that looks. It's great, like reverse tassel almost. It doesn't swing free, but it kind of has the feel of a beaded tassel. So that's what I was trying to show, is if you separate and then just start beading up either side, you could have a necklace, a traditional Y necklace instead of a lariat. So throughout the rest of the necklace, I'm just going to add on tons of beads in different sections and not just like I showed you. Here's the second section. I just, again, strung on a ton of beads. I'm not going to use all of these beads in the second section, but what I'm going to do here is just choose a few of the beads that I've strung and make the knots further apart so there is some leather showing. I didn't do that with the first section, but through the rest of the sections, that's what I'm going to do. This necklace comes together pretty quickly, basically as quickly as you can string your beads, and you don't need a lot of tools. You'll need some glue and something to cut with, but that's about it. And also the really good thing about this style of necklace, you can use as many strands of leather as you'd like. Here's another section. Right here, I'm trying to see if I can make the sections similar or equal to each other. Throughout the rest of the necklace, I decided that wasn't necessary. I'll just keep going like that throughout the rest of the necklace. Here we have all the sections finished. I love this necklace. There's so much to look at. And there are so many different ways I can wear it. And then this is the last section. We're gonna string on our final leaf. And I did struggle a little bit here because, again, like I said in the beginning, I only cut it 54 inches a piece and or strand, and I really should have cut it longer because I would like the necklace to be longer, and then this portion of the necklace that I'm trying to tie is too small. So here, or too short. So here, I'm trying to just do like a regular knot, and it wasn't happening. Like you'll see in just a moment, it looks terrible. But I wanted to leave it in case you wanted to make a similar necklace and weren't sure how to knot it. Don't do this knot. So yeah, it looks like a hot mess. No ma'am. And then I decide to do a barrel knot, but because everything's so short, struggled a little bit. So I had to really just do every single piece, one piece at a time. And I think I left in most of it. So if you're not interested in seeing that, please fast forward. But for those of you who want to see how I problem solved, just keep watching. So you want to fold over your lower piece, fold over again, or wrap around, whatever you want to call it. And then we're going to come back through, put our ends through the knot to the other side. And this is where it got really tricky, because without the barrel knot bead or a tube there, the leather can be touching itself, and it's hard to get the ends through. But like I said, just go slowly. Do this when you have time, when you're not frustrated, and it'll turn out eventually. So I'm wiggling that first piece through, and then eventually we'll get the second and third pieces through. I was so frustrated by this point. Thankfully, the original audio isn't in here because the air was a little blue at that point. But I did a thumbs up because we got through it. So at this point, I was trying to figure out how I wanted to end each piece. And then remember that ginkgo had a loop on the front, so I didn't want to just leave the loop empty. I decided I wanted to have a dangle, and originally thought I might want to have the dangle with a head pin, or hanging from a head pin. I'm just laying out a design to do with the dangle. I used a ball head pin. And we're just going to do a simple loop here. I don't know why I made it so difficult on myself. I could have just cut that to size and then curled it, but I just ended up snipping here. You should snip before you curl instead of curl and then snip, but clearly I wasn't doing the easy thing today. So I attached it, and lo and behold, didn't love it. Was not feeling it. 0 out of 10. So I removed it. I was tired, so I cut it off. But I wanted to use these beads because I like how they look together. I decided to take a piece of leather and string it on. So I was having kind of the same problem, and I wanted to show you how I problem solved. The hole on the loop was a little too small for the 1mm leather, so I cut the leather at an angle. And that didn't work. Then I got a bead reamer and reamed the loop, and that'll get gunk out of there, make it a little bigger, and then that worked perfectly. So I brought that through and made a knot. And this is just a regular knot, nothing fancy. It was over fancy knots by that point. And then I just strung on my beads. Here I wanted to put on a leaf, and I gotta tell you, I had 0 problems with these leaves throughout the rest of the necklace, but here I had to try almost every single leaf in that bag, and then none of them worked. So I eventually used the bead reamer on it, on one of the leaves, because it just wasn't working no matter what I did with the leather. So it's very handy to have one of these if you don't already have one. These were, I think, really cheap at Michael's one year. They're pretty easy to find. I also have an electric one from Bead. And that worked, although it did get my fingers pretty dirty. And I'm just adding everything on, and I'm going to do a small easy knot at the bottom. Here we come with my Hot Mess Express glue. I probably have to replace this sooner rather than later because it started globbing all over the place. So I'm using GS Hypo Cement here. You can use E6000, but this glue seems to be a little bit better on leather. Some globbed out, so I just grabbed an eye pin or a head pin to put it where I needed it on the leather. So then I trimmed, and then I needed to kind of decide what the heck I was going to do with the top of that ginkgo, because I liked the top of the other leaf, but the top of the ginkgo was uneven and just not cute. So I decided to glue there so that the knot wouldn't come undone if I trimmed those pieces. I got glue everywhere because of course I did. So I'm going to clean that up a little bit, and then I just trimmed to right above that leaf. Spread the glue around a little bit. And kind of wanted to wait a little bit for it to dry, but then I got pretty impatient, so I snipped the leather, and then you'll see that the ends of that leather look a little bit lighter than the inside, so I can just take a brown Sharpie and touch that up. But I'm really loving how that hangs and dangles, and I love the little bit the leather detail hanging off the other side. I think that looks pretty sweet. I did try and test out one other bead, but I really just liked how it looked hanging off the leaf. So there's my lariat. Use so many beads and it's just wonderful. There's a really fun way that you can attach it, or you can just tie it in a knot. You can just wear it around your neck, or you can put one of the leaves through one of the other strings of beads to get it to hang, and it looks really great. Here I'm making a simple pair of earrings to go with my necklace because by that point I was kind of tired. I just did a wire wrap loop using a ball head pin. Remember, these leaves were from my stash, but I thought they looked really good with the beads from Curated Bead Box. And I don't remember where these came from. And then I'm just going to pile some beads on an eye pin. I got out some different spacers, and then we'll hang the leaf from these beads. Just doing a simple loop here. I don't know why I decided to do this throughout the entire video. Normally when I do a simple loop, I bend at 90 degrees, cut, and then just do my loop, but here I just decided to make life harder for myself, apparently. Do as I say, not as I do, right? And then I just connected them and grabbed an ear wire. Super fast, but adorable. This will probably go to, you guessed it, my mom. Unless I send them to some of my friends. So these were my favorite beads in this box, and I saved 3 because I knew I wanted to make a bracelet using them. And I got out 3 of the bead frames and some 22 gauge parawire by Vintage. Well, it's Vintage and parawire, and then it's in an antique, or their natural brass color. And I'm just going to do some wire wrap links using that bead and the bead frame. So here I'm doing a wire wrapped loop. You used to be able to get this wire at Hobby Lobby. I haven't seen it for a while, but I ordered some recently from Vintage. They have free shipping over $25. And they had some colors I hadn't seen before, so I got them. Okay, so this was a little difficult because at least with the first bead, the holes didn't line up very well. But then the ones I did off camera, of course, were less frustrating. All right, so we're just gonna go ahead and string that on and then do a wire wrap loop. I did that 3 times, and then I linked 3 jump rings together, and you'll see why we're doing that in a moment. And then I'm going to make 3 dangles with 3 of these leaves and one of the brown crackle beads, 4mm crackles. And I am going to wire wrap these instead of doing a simple loop. There we go. And then just trim that up. And then I want to connect all 3 of the globes, so I'm going to use just some small jump rings to connect those. Next, I am adding those 3 jump rings I connected to each other to one of the globes. And I want to add a lobster clasp to that jump ring, not the 3 that I connected to each other. And I know you're like, Brittany, who are you and what have you done with Brittany? Because what do you mean you're using a lobster clasp? But I was I'm not sick of toggles, okay? I will never be sick of toggles, but I kind of want the option to use lobsters, and I'll show you. I bought something that helps me use them, or helps me put them on one-handed. That's the only reason I never use them, is because they're hard to put bracelets on one-handed. I love using lobsters on necklaces, but rarely use them on bracelets. But I will show you what I do now, and I will link to the product below as well. So I am adding these little leaves to each one of those 3 jump rings that I linked together. We have ourselves a really fun dangle. I love it. Super autumn-ish. Even though I don't like fall, I really like this necklace and this bracelet. And then I just grabbed some of the remaining beads to make up the rest of the necklace, and we're going to string it. I'm going to use this Soft Flex metallics wire in the antique brass color. Recently got that from them in one of their monthly kits. And then we're just gonna string on to one of the connectors that I made using a crimp tube. You put that in your largest valley of your crimping pliers and make sure that the wires are not crossed. And then squish. And then turn it 90 degrees and squish again. for making it look kind of like a round bead, and then squish. And while you're walking it up your pliers, you know I like saying the word squish. And then I'm just going to string on my beads. These look like little apples to me. And then it was a little frustrating trying to get this little bead on, and I realized that there was one of those husks in the inside. Bead companies sometimes use them to sand down or smooth the edges of beads or the insides of beads, and one got stuck. So if you ever see that, that's what those are. Sometimes they package beads in them when they're shipping them. It's kind of like sandblasting beads with husks, seed pods. And then I'm just going to put my beads down, and we want to make sure it's loosey-goosey. We don't want to crimp in a straight line. Otherwise, it's not going to fit your wrist well. And I'm just going to connect that to a jump ring. I'm not connecting it to, well, at the end of the bracelet's going to be a jump ring, but this is a smaller one, so I can make the bracelet adjustable. There's another seed pod in this one. Then I just grab the end of the wire and the jump ring for leverage and pull. Again, it's loosey-goosey, meaning it's in the curve of my wrist. I'm not doing this in a straight line. And then we're just gonna squish like we did on the other side. And turn 90 degrees. And squish again. I just want to say squish again. And trim our wire. Here I'm taking a few jump rings and attaching them to the end of the bracelet. You want to make sure those jump rings are completely closed. And you do that by kind of just rubbing the ends next to each other until they're very close. There we go. And here's our bracelet. I'm super excited about it. I love the movement of the leaves on it. I love the little globes and the green. It makes me really happy. Let me know what you think. Isn't that cute? It's stinking cute. Not as cute as Goldie though. So we have our bracelet. We have our earrings. Which are super cute. And our necklace, which I'm so excited to wear this fall. Maybe when it cools down a little bit, because it is kind of heavy. Still in the 90s here. Sometimes the hundreds. And here is the tool that I use to put on my bracelets that have lobster clasps. So you use the alligator clip, put the jump ring in it, and then hold that in the hand that you want to put the bracelet on. Now, okay, forgive me because I'm not left-handed. I am right-handed, and this was difficult putting opening the clasp and like getting my left hand to do what I want. So it's a little awkward. I think with time I will be able to do this more easily, but this is only like the second time I've used this thing. So the first time was absolutely much harder. But then you let it go and the bracelet's on. It used to take, I couldn't do it by myself before. So there you have it. I'd have to have somebody else to do it for me. Thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned for Goldie. She's super cute. Please like, subscribe, and share. Bye-bye. bored? You're bored, aren't you? It's almost the end of the day, I promise. You're so funny.